back to review the Loki series, and get ready because I have some shit to say about this. So I guess where we start off, obviously just general, like, history of, like, Loki. I really love this character. I think Loki is honestly just one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I think Tom Hiddleston is just so charming and likable as this character. It's just so interesting to, like, see how, like, he plays off, like, the more evil side of Loki, but also more vulnerable side, the funny side, all of it. It's just, I've always liked seeing Loki's always just been, like, my favorite part of, like, every movie that he's in. And so, obviously, when they announced this series, I was really excited for it. And I really, really wanted to like this series, and I just didn't. I honestly thought it kind of sucked, to be completely honest with you.
To me, I think the series kind of fell in the same thing, or the same pattern as, like, WandaVision, where it started out strong, and I started out liking it, and then as it went on, it kind of, like, deteriorated.
Yeah. So, like, the first episode, I think, was pretty fine for the most part, but the second episode, I was like, okay, I mean, this isn't exactly what I was hoping for, but, you know, whatever, I'm still open to it, whatever. And it wasn't until the third episode that it really started to go in a direction that I was not comfortable with, and if you've seen the show, you probably already know what I'm referring to, but I'm not going to talk about it yet because I just want to do the non-spoiler section first. My main issue with this show is, first and foremost, this does not feel like a show about Loki. It feels like a show about the TVA and them trying to establish the multiverse and all this stuff, rather than them just wanting to tell a story about this character.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think that's the biggest problem with not just Loki, but all these TV shows, is that they're more focused on, like, and I guess that's a criticism you can make of Marvel movies in general, that it feels more like they're just ads for stuff in the future, or setting up stuff that's coming up in the future, rather than actually just being good on their own, being, like, their own thing. It's like, we're setting up something now. Oh, this show isn't good, but don't worry, the next thing, that'll be the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going on like that, where it's like, everything is just, like, setting up other stuff in the future and setting up other franchises rather than just being, like, a good thing on its own. And that's one of the reasons why I liked Winter Soldier so much, was that it was one of those rare Marvel movies that actually felt like good on its own and had, like, an actual satisfying conclusion rather on its own, rather than just being like, okay, this is just setting up stuff in the future. Like, obviously it sets up some stuff in the future, but it also is, like, fine as existing as, like, its own thing and having, like, its own ending, rather than just being, like, essentially having no function other than just being, like, an ad for other stuff and just setting up some concept like the multiverse, which is what Loki basically just is. And, like, yeah, it doesn't really focus on Loki as a character, and, like, some of the advertising for the show was kind of, I don't know if I can get into this without being spoilers.
I mean, like, I don't think this would really be spoilers, but, like, yeah, like, a lot of the, like, trailers for the show felt like false advertising. Like, there's a shot where you see Loki standing in the throne room of Asgard and he's doing this big grand pose. That's not in the show. I have no idea what the hell that was supposed to be. And there's another shot where there's another scene from the trailer where Loki is standing in Stark Tower and he turns and says glorious. That's not in the show. I have no idea what that was supposed to be for either. So yeah, like, a bunch of stuff like that, like, definitely, like, looked good in the trailers and they knew would probably, like, entice people to the show, is just not in the show at all. So, like, that really felt like false advertising. And I guess before we go any further, I just want to talk about just, like, the Loki fandom in general, because I'm pretty active in the Loki fandom on Tumblr. I mean, for better or for worse, that kind of, you know, get a little dangerous sometimes, but, I have a general sense of, like, what the fandom is like and what people kind of feel about different, like, installments of the MCU. And there is a decent portion of the Loki fandom that is really not happy with Loki's portrayal, specifically after Thor: The Dark World, like, particularly in Ragnarok, and obviously, like, the way Loki died in Infinity War was just fucking stupid, because they feel like the character was not treated with any dignity, particularly in Ragnarok. No, I actually really liked Ragnarok, that's actually one of my favorite MCU movies, because I like that it kind of showed, like, a more, I guess, like, a lighter side to Loki, but I mean, like, I do get where people are coming from, that, like, he is basically just a punching bag in that movie, and, if you're one of those people that doesn't like the way that he was portrayed in that, you're not gonna like this show either. There's still, like, a bunch of scenes where Loki is either getting belittled or made fun of or getting the shit beat out of him. They promised that they were gonna show more of, like, Loki's magic powers because that wasn't really explored at all. I mean, only a little bit in the previous movies. They don't really do that in the show either. I mean, there are some bits where you see him using his powers, but not really. And that goes into, like, my issue with just this not feeling like a show about Loki at all to begin with. But yeah, so, and then, like, this honestly just feels like it's just, like, a Loki series trying to be something else. And a lot of that has to do with, like, the writing. I think Michael Waldron, I think is the name of the guy who wrote the script. He also worked on, Rick and Morty. I really don't think he was the right pick for this project. Cause, like, this just doesn't, like I said, like, this doesn't feel like a Loki series. It doesn't feel like he gets this character or why people like this character. And it just, the writing, like, the pacing for the episodes is just so off. Like, the things either happen too quickly or way too slowly.
Yeah, like, episode 3 was that the one where they were, like, on the train?
Yeah.
Like, literally almost nothing even happened to that episode.
Same thing with the finale. Like, feels like nothing happened in the finale either. And, oh God, what was I saying? Yeah, like, I guess before I go and, like, any further with, like, shitting on the show, I do want to talk about the positives. The acting is all great. I mean, they do the best with what they have. I mean, obviously, like, I don't think the writing was very good, but I think the actors are able to pull it off. Owen Wilson is really good in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is probably one of his, like, best performances.
If you watch, I've always liked Owen Wilson, and not just because I've liked him as, like, from a kid since he did the voice of Lightning McQueen, but also if you watch, like, Owen Wilson actually co-wrote some of Wes Anderson's, like, earlier movies, like Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums, which are, like, some of his best films, and he's also starred in them. So if you, like, watch, I know a lot of people make fun of Owen Wilson and think that he's, like, a shitty actor, but if you actually watch him in, like, the Darjeeling Limited, I don't know how to pronounce it, or, like, some of him in Wes Anderson's films, he's actually really good in those. So I think that, Owen Wilson, and this show proves that, like, when he's given decent stuff to work with, he is a really good actor. It's just that he just gets typecast in a lot of, like, really shitty comedy movies, but...
Yeah, and, like I said, even though I don't think the writing in this show was that good, I think that, like, his character of Agent Mobius is charming enough that he's able to, like, pull off reading the lines in, like, a believable way and still be an interesting character. I guess another positive, the show, for the most part, looks pretty nice. I mean, the visual effects, I mean, some of it looks a little, like, cheap, but for the most part, the cinematography is pretty okay. But yeah, other than that, I just don't know, like...
There was, like, some stuff that could have been good if it had been explored more, but it kind of wasn't, like, seeing the different Loki variants, I thought that was kind of fun, but that was only in, like, one episode, and they barely even, like, touched on any of them.
Yeah, so I guess, like, I'm not sure what else to, like, go into without getting into spoilers, because, like, pretty much everything that happens after, like, the first episode is kind of a spoiler. So I'm not sure, like, what else to talk about. I guess just, like, if you just want my general rating of this, I would give it, like, honestly, like, a C- at best. I mean, I know that, like, this director has done, like, good work in the past, and, like, I'm sure that, like, she, like, you know, does respect this character and everything, but, like, the writing was just, this was not a good script, and they just didn't have good material, and if you don't have a good script, like, you know, nothing you do afterwards, no, like, acting skill or direction is gonna salvage that, ultimately. And, like, I know that, like, a lot of people were excited because, like, Tom Hiddleston was listed as an executive producer for this show, so they thought, oh, well, I mean, like, Tom has been playing this character for, like, over a decade now, he knows this character, like, better than he loves this character, so, like, I guess if he has, like, creative influence on the show, it's gonna be good, but, like, he apparently said in an interview that, like, 95% of the ideas he pitched for the show were, like, thrown out the window, pretty much, and,
that's
like,
not good.
Yeah, it kind of shows, because, like, I don't get the sense that, like, this was made out of, like, genuine love for the character of Loki. Like, I don't get that at all. Like, I can always tell when, like, something is, like, a labor of love and, like, the people that were working on it genuinely, like, wanted to tell a story and love this character. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, you can tell, is a genuine labor of love that, like, you can tell that James Gunn, like, put his heart and soul into making that, and that it's something that, like, he really, like, cared about and wanted to do. And I'm not saying that, like, the writers or directors didn't care about this project. I just don't feel like they may not have been the best picks to do this project. So yeah, so I know that, like, Tom Hiddleston, like, at one point had tried to pitch, like, a storyline with Loki and the Enchantress. Yeah, that's not in this at all. Would have been much more interesting than, like, what they gave us.
I mean, the fact that there are so many scenes in the trailers that weren't in the actual show, that makes me almost wonder if there was, like, a bunch of stuff that got cut out or deleted. Like, if the show was originally going to be very different, but something happened. I mean, I don't know if it was, like, COVID reshoots. I know COVID messed up a lot of production, on Falcon Winter Soldier, so I don't know if it was the same deal with Loki, but yeah, I don't know, just, it just feels to me like this show should have been something very different, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like I said, I don't know what else much to talk about without just going into spoilers. I mean, I know that there are people that like it. The fandom is kind of, like, split on it. Just, like, I guess, like, it depending on, like, what type of Loki fan you are. Like, if you're, like, a hardcore, like, you want to see him be, like, you know, explore his true powers and go into, like, his backstory and his psyche, this is not it. You're gonna be very disappointed if that's what you're hoping for. If you just want to see Tom Hiddleston have fun and, I don't know, fuck shit up, maybe you'll like it, I don't know. But yeah, for me, as someone who genuinely, like, loves this character, this was not at all what I was hoping for, and, like, I was very open to the idea of, like, them going in a different direction than, like, what fans were hoping for, of just, like, I don't know, maybe, like, exploring his, like, Jotun heritage. I'm sorry, our cat is, like, yelling at us. Snowball! Sorry. But yeah, like, I was open to them going in a different direction, but, like, ultimately this just did not work for me at all.
Should we start getting into spoilers?
Yeah, so we'll start getting into spoilers, and yeah, so you probably guys already know my issue with the show, third episode. I really, really fucking hate that they decided to pair Loki with a female version of himself. And normally I wouldn't let a shit bother me this much, but they do make it a central part of the show, so I kind of don't have a choice. So yeah.
And, like, it's not even, like, as a joke. I mean, one thing if it's like, oh, he falls in love with himself, get it? Because he's a narcissist. Like, no, it's like, you're expected to believe that this is, like, a serious romance that you're supposed to, like, take seriously. It's like, it's himself but a woman. Like, how am I supposed to take this seriously?
Yeah, and, like, yeah, I have a whole lot of rants to say about this, so buckle up, everybody, you're gonna listen to them all. Like, yeah, like, it honestly feels, like, so insulting to the character. They're like, lol, he's so much of a narcissist, guess he'll only ever love himself, haha. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're really doing this? And also, like, they're literally the same person. The only difference between him and the character of Sylvie, the female version of himself, is that she was born a woman, and that she got taken from her childhood home from the TVA.
Also, she's blonde for some reason.
I think they're trying to say, like, she, like, dyed her hair or changed her hair color or something after, because, like, she had dark hair as a kid, so, like, because they said that, like, she, like, changed her name, so I don't know if she was trying to, like, change her identity, that was what they were hinting at or whatever.
I don't think she's blonde in the comics, though. Like, I don't know why
Sylvie isn't even a character in the... So, Sylvie Lushton is a version of the Enchantress in the comics. She's not a Loki... The idea of, like, Loki variants, to my understanding, doesn't really... I mean,
I thought Lady Loki was in the comic.
Yeah, no, Lady Loki's in the comics, but she's not an alternate universe version of Loki. She is Loki. Loki is gender fluid in the comics.
Yeah, I thought
and is both simultaneously male and female. Speaking of that, yeah, so you know what? Everybody was kind of, like, freaking out because they showed in the first episode, there's a shot where you see Loki's file and it says it lists his sex as fluid, that's never mentioned or brought up at all in the show. Like, I honestly don't know why they even bothered putting that shot in there at all, because, like, they don't treat Loki like a gender fluid character.
Yeah,
it's never discussed.
I thought we were gonna see Loki, like, turn to a woman and that was gonna be Lady Loki, but then they're like, oh no, it's a variant of Loki, that's a woman. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, sure, whatever, I can buy that, but, like, and during, like, the third episode, it, like, never even, I mean, they had a scene really, like, talk about romance stuff, but I was naively like, okay, but, like, they're not gonna actually pair them in a romance, like, that'd just be stupid, and then I was like, oh my god, they're actually pairing them in a romance.
Honestly, like, the moment that they introduced the character of Sylvie in the second episode, I was just kind of, like, afraid that they were gonna go that route, but then it was like, nah, they're literally the same person. They wouldn't be stupid enough to do something like that.
They were stupid
Oh
enough.
boy, was I wrong. Yeah, like, and, like, honestly, like, in terms of, like, because they've revealed that both Loki and, obviously, by definition, his other variants are also bisexual, but, like, it honestly feels, like, so insulting to the LGBT community that they would rather pair Loki with a version of himself because it's a male-female pairing than just put him in a goddamn same-sex relationship. And let me be clear, because people took this the wrong way when I tried talking about this on Tumblr. I am not at all opposed to the idea of Loki having a female partner, but let me put it this way. If Sylvie were a male variant, do you think they would be trying to pull this? Do you think that, like, they would be trying to pull the idea of Loki falling in love with himself? It was another male version of himself? Yeah, no. Why do you think it was the female version and not any of the other male variants that he met as well? Like, because, like, the only reason they were able to get away with this stupid idea of making Loki fall in love with himself is because it was a female version of himself. That's what I take issue with in this. And, like,
it's the same thing they do with, like, a lot of these other characters. Like, it's the same thing they do with, like, hey guys, Wonder Woman's bi. No, we're never gonna actually show that in any of the movies, but, you know, she's bi. Dumbledore's gay. No, we're never gonna actually show that in any of the movies or any of the official books or anything, but, you know, he's gay. Just know that. We're just saying that just to get brownie points. And it's like, again, like, they just say it. And, of course, the showrunners were all, like, patting themselves like, oh, it was so important to us to establish that he was, like, bi, but it's like, yeah, but you did it in, like, the most cowardly, like, again, it's the same exact thing with, like, Endgame, where they're like, we're gonna have a gay character as a cameo by the director, where he, like, mentions in a, like, line that you honestly could just easily miss about having a boyfriend, and that's it. Like, same with Loki. It's like, do we actually show Loki in a same-sex relationship? No, we're just gonna have a throwaway line about him potentially also being interested in men, and that's it, and nothing ever is really done with that.
Yeah, and, like, also, like, because a lot of people on, like idiots on Tumblr were calling me biphobic because I made this post that was, like, how come, like, if Loki was also, like, if Loki really fell in love with himself, how come he doesn't also fall in love with all the other Loki variants as well if he really is bi? And, like, that's not the same thing as, like, the stereotype that, oh, bisexuals have to be attracted to everybody, because the Loki variants are all fundamentally the same person, and I'm not making that assumption. Like, they explicitly state that in the show multiple times. And, like, I honestly, like, I don't think even the writers knew what they were trying to do with this, because on the one hand, they're trying to be like, yeah, it's a metaphor for, like, self-love and acceptance and shit. But on the other hand, they're trying to be like, no, it's not, like, self-cess, because, like, Sylvie's her own person. It's like, okay, so which is it? Like, those are completely contradictory statements. And, like, I don't know, like, even if they try to claim that they are both bi, this still just feels like a cheap, like, hetero romance they just added in there to, like, keep the homophobes happy, and, like,
it's like, I don't get why it's like they're constantly doing all these, like, weird, bizarre romances. Like, it's like when Steve Rogers made out with his niece.
Yeah, like, I hate this more than that, honestly, like.
Yeah, like, we can't show a gay character, but we can show Steve Rogers making out with his dead girlfriend's niece, who then eventually becomes his niece, because he then, after the fact, goes back and marries the dead girlfriend, so now she's technically his niece. It's like, that's weird. Or like, hey, Loki's gonna fall himself with himself, but a woman, like, that's kind of what. Oh, but a gay couple can't do that.
Yeah.
That's
and,
that's just taking it too far.
Yeah, like, from what I, from what I've seen in, like, the Loki fandom on Tumblr, most people are not okay, or not, like, on board with the Loki and Sylvie pairing. I mean, not everyone's, like, pissed off about it necessarily, but most people are kind of like, yeah, this is, kind of, no. But, like,
they also just have, like, no chemistry.
Yeah, like, I'll get into that, too, but, like, yeah, like, they... Like, I'm honestly kind of disturbed that there are people that do, like, think this is okay, because, like, I feel like this is one of those things that I shouldn't have to explain why this is problematic. You know, like, Loki and Sylvie, they're literally the same person. They have the same parents. The only difference between them is that Sylvie was born a woman and that she has a slightly different past from him. Like, other than that, everything about it is completely the same. Like, that's literally incest.
We have the same brother-in-law.
Like, it's like it's the same issue I have with people who try to, like, ship Thor and Loki and then try to justify it being like, well, it's not technically incest because they're not biologically It's like,
isn't that kind of offensive to, like, adopted parents?
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter, they were still raised together as siblings.
That's also kind of offensive to, like, people from adoptive families to imply that they're not really your family.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of insulting.
Yeah, and, like, I just, like, let me put it this way. If you have to pull mental gymnastics to explain why something isn't incest, it's probably incest. Like, let's be real.
There's that, I don't know where this is from, there's a quote that was like, anytime you have to say the sentence, technically it's not incest, that's not great, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this tweet, I might have sent this to you, where it was like, Loki and Sylvie meeting in Alabama. Makes a lot more sense now. But yeah, like, I just find it so insulting that they would rather do this weird, like, gross, like, self-incest pairing that clearly makes a lot of people really uncomfortable, rather than just put Loki in a same-sex pairing. No, we can't do that, because we still need to get money from the Russians and the Chinese and shit. Yeah, and, like, it's just, I'm so tired of this shit. Yeah, and... Like, I've seen, like, so many people just come up with these absolutely bullshit arguments trying to justify it, and, like, honestly, like, every time, like, I've been reading, like, articles where, like, the writers are trying to justify it, like, it honestly, to me, feels like they're trying to do damage control.
Yeah,
it feels like they know that, like, a lot of people are made uncomfortable with this, and they're just kind of trying to come up with whatever stupid excuse they can to try and, like, justify it.
It's like, for Endgame, when, like, the Russos and Marcus and McFeely had, like, two different answers as to whether or not Steve, like, went back to a different timeline when he was editing, like, the same timeline, even though that it's like, do you guys even know what movie you made? Like, they were saying things that made no sense, like, contradicted each other, and it just came off as, like, we're trying to do damage control because this ending is stupid and makes no sense, and it was, like, obvious to me, like, did you even think about this for, like, more than 5 seconds?
Yeah, and, like, Jesus, I keep forgetting what I'm gonna say. I'm sorry, I'm just, like, a ball of rage right now.
So far with these shows, WandaVision has been the best one for me, and even that I wasn't, like, super crazy about. I just more liked the first couple of episodes because I thought it was creative what they were doing with the different formats of, like, having, like, different time periods. But even that show kind of fell apart once they started doing the typical Marvel shtick. And Falcon and Soldier I didn't think was great. This show, again, liked it at the beginning. The first episode I really liked. I was like, oh, it's interesting seeing, you know, this get all set up. I wonder what they're gonna do with it. And then I was like, oh, that wasn't very exciting.
Yeah, so, like, from what I've read, the decision to pair Loki with Sylvie romantically, they decided to add in after they had to take a break from COVID, because I guess at that point, apparently, everybody was too burnt out to realize, hey, maybe this is, like, a really fucking stupid idea.
Did, like, COVID infect your brains or something?
And, like, yeah, like, it, you can tell, like, it just feels so, like, rushed and, like, just not convincing, and, like, what the fuck were you thinking? And, like, even setting aside the fact that it's a self-cess pairing, like, it's still, like, not healthy to be in a relationship with somebody who's exactly like you. Like, I was talking about this on Tumblr, and somebody wrote, they said that they watched this show called The OC, which I haven't seen, but apparently there was, like, this one episode where, a character dates a girl who's, like, basically, like, a female version of himself, like, exactly like him. And first he's like, oh, wow, yeah, this is great, she's just like me. But then like, after a while, they start to, like, kind of, like, get on each other's nerves because they're exactly the same. And he starts to realize, oh, like, this is kind of not a good idea after all. And, like, I was hoping that if they were actually going to go this route, then they would at least be smart enough to later have, like, Loki understand, like, oh, like, this actually isn't a good idea to, like, love somebody who's exactly like me, because that's, like, kind of like dating my sister, kind of, and, like, maybe what I'm feeling, like, isn't really romantic love, it's just, like, learning to accept myself for the first time, and, like, just something like he's, like, mistaking for romantic love because he doesn't really know what love is, and I was hoping that, like, they would at least be smart enough to do something like that. Granted, smart writing has not exactly been Marvel's forte recently, so I don't know why I was hoping for that. But yeah, and even setting all of that aside, it's still just a poorly written, like, romance in general. Like,
well,
he literally spends one episode getting to know her, and then all of a sudden he's in love with her, like, what? And, like, there's never any indication at all that she, like, reciprocates his feelings. Like, there was a scene where he literally gets, like, pruned right in front of her, and she has, like, virtually no reaction, like, at all. Like, they have no chemistry together, like, at all. And
I mean, they're making season 2, so I guess we'll see what happens with
hopefully
that.
they might actually listen to the fans for once, although they've never done that before, so, yeah, I mean, like, it feels, like, insulting that they're not, like, making an effort to, like, at least hear the fans out, because the fans are the only reason this show even exists in the first place. And instead it just feels like, oh, well, we need to set up the multiverse, might as well, the fans want a Loki series, so, might as well just have this long exposition of the multiverse and just throw Loki in there.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I got to understand Loki more, or learn more about Loki. It was just more like, we need to set up the multiverse, and that's it.
And, yeah, so I guess you can talk about the finale. So, I mean, obviously, like, in the end, you find out that, like, the big bad was Kang the Conqueror, which everybody was kind of predicting anyways. And, like, the whole finale, honestly, like, it literally feels like nothing happens at all. Like, the most of the episode is them just, like, sitting down and talking, and Kang giving these, like, long exposition speeches about the history of, like, himself and the TVA and shit. And, like, he literally, like, there's, like, a part where, like, he says, well, either this can happen or this can happen, and he repeats it, like, 3 times. Just, like, what, are you just trying to, like, pad out the episode now to get, like, more running time? Like, what is this? And, like, it's not until, like, the very end of the episode that, like, anything happens at all, pretty much. Like, that's what I mean about, like, the pacing just being so off. Like, literally, like one moment, like, things will, like, go by so fast, and the next it'll just be, like, a sludge to sit through. And, like, the writing's just not good. I mean, like, I don't know if this is actually true, but apparently Michael Waldron's not going to be writing the second season, so, I mean, hopefully they'll get somebody better. I'm honestly, like, I'm just so, like, fucking pissed off that they would take this show in, like, a direction like this. Like, I'm honestly just considering, like, not even watching the second season at all. Like, this is just so, like, disappointing. I'm just so, like, frustrated with, like, Marvel, and, like, Phase 4 in general has just been, like, so disappointing, just not what the fans wanted. Oh, yeah, and also, so you know how, like, both, like, at the end of WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, they'd have, like, this huge epic moment where, like, characters got, like, new, like, comic accurate costumes, and they unleashed, like, these new, like, epic powers. Yeah, none of that here. Loki doesn't get shit. Like,
he's in an office work outfit.
Yeah. He's in this, like, ugly ass, like, office work outfit for, like, the majority of the show.
I wanted to see Loki in a cool green outfit with the horns and the magics, and I didn't get any of that.
Yeah, no. Like, again, like, it just feels, like, insulting that Loki's just, like, a punching bag. He's just, like, a joke to, like, those writers, pretty much, and, like, he's not treated with any dignity, and, like, you know, at first, like, I was kind of, like, I would kind of, like, make fun of people who would, like, just, like, rail on Ragnarok for, like, having, like, Loki be, like, a punching bag, and, like, they hate it so much. I'm like, okay, can you guys, like, calm down and stuff? But, like, honestly, like, now, like, I get it. Like, I get what makes, like, how it feels to, like, be made so angry by, like, just seeing your, like, favorite character just, like, just totally just like tossed aside like that.
Well, at least in Ragnarok, Loki had a cool scene where he got to fight stuff with people who fight monsters with swords, and then he had like a heartwarming moment with Thor at the end. It's like, you know, come on, at least in Ragnarok there was still some cool stuff with Loki. There was like none of that.
Yeah, like honestly, like, if there were people who got that mad watching Ragnarok, I can't even imagine how they must feel watching this shit. Like, you know, like, honestly, like, if anything, this show has just given me, like, a new appreciation for, like, fanfiction. Like, honestly, like, I know, like, everybody makes fun of fanfiction because a lot of it's pretty bad, but, like, you know what? At least people who write fanfiction aren't just doing it for a paycheck or, like, for a studio. They're doing it because they actually, like, care about the characters and they want to write it. Like, I legitimately have read fanfiction like fucking Tumblr and like fanfiction.net that is like 10 times more profound than this shit. Like at least it's written by people who like genuinely love the character and want to tell a story about them. I don't get any of that from this. And like, I guess, like, as far as, like, positives, the only other thing I can say is I like the stuff with the Loki variants in episode 5. Like, it was cool.
I wanted to see more of that.
It was cool seeing Kid Loki and Classic Loki. Richard E. Grant is, Classic Loki.
Oh, yeah, the Classic Loki was really cool.
With the friggin', like, spandex costume from the 60s comics.
Like, I thought that was gonna be what the majority of the show was gonna be about, was seeing all the different Loki variants, and there was only, like, one episode that barely even contained any of that, and, like, all the cool stuff you're just, like, shoving aside instead of have to see, like, the TVA and, like, this boring stuff that I don't care about.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like, this just, like, it's really not a show about Loki. If anything, it's just a show more about Sylvie. Like, she's the one that gets to be, like, the cool badass in this, and Loki is basically just, like, a joke, pretty much. And, and I really wanted to like the character of Sylvie, but, like, they just, like, write her as, like, your typical, oh, we need to make a girl boss character, and, like, she has, like, pretty much no personality outside of that, and then, of course, they make her this dumbass, like, love interest as well. Like, I mean, like, obviously, like, in the finale, she, like, quote-unquote betrays Loki, but, like, I still get the feeling that they're gonna, like, make up, and they're still trying to push this, like, dumbass romance arc between them. And, like, I don't know, like, I just, like, I mean, I guess, like, this might be considered, like, required viewing for future projects if, like, you wanna have an understanding of, like, the multiverse or whatever the fuck, but, like, I honestly, like, I honestly, like, part of me is just wishing that I hadn't seen this, because, like, I just, like, this just bothered me so much, and I was not expecting to get, like, this angry over something, but, like, again, like, because I do genuinely love the character of Loki, and, like, I know that there are a lot of people out there who do as well, and, like, the fans have been wanting, like, a project like this for a while, for them to just turn in this absolute, just, like, crap, like, it's just, like, so insulting, and, like, it just feels like Disney is just, like, making these absolute, like, amateur mistakes, like, even, like, most basic, like, I am by no means a professional writer, but even I'm, like, sitting here going, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're seriously doing that? And, like, it just feels to me like they're taunting, thinking, like, yeah, we can just put out whatever shit we want, you'll watch it, we'll still make money. Like, they have no incentive to actually make, like, good content and make, like, a good show or a good movie anymore. And, like, yeah, like, it just, like, and especially, like, with, like, the terrible, like, queer representation and stuff, like, you know, like, it feels, like, so, like, and, like, I get that, like, okay, like, and, like, some people were really happy that, like, they had Loki confirm that he was bisexual. Some people were saying, like, you know, like, oh, like, that, like, made me feel, like, more accepting of myself and stuff, and obviously, like, that's great, but, like, and obviously, like, yeah, of course, like, having some representation is better than nothing, but, like, to me, personally, it still feels just so disingenuous, and they're trying to, like, play both sides, but being like, yeah, we'll have some representation, but not too much, you know, we still need to, like, market this overseas to the homophobes and shit, so, like, you know, we're not gonna go crazy or anything, like, it's just, like, so, like, it just feels so disingenuous, and, like, I definitely don't feel like Disney deserves any credit for the very little representation that they do have.
It also makes it funnier when you see all those people like getting infuriated that the show mentioned that he was biased. Like, I don't know what you guys like. People are like, oh, this is Disney's pushing the SJW. It's like, I don't know what you guys are getting mad at because they don't do anything with it. So.
Yeah, like every like time in like any like Disney or Marvel show that like they try to put like any kind of like queer representation, like it's always something that could be easily like edited out in like other countries to like not offend anybody, and like it's just so disingenuous. And like I was saying, like I don't like Disney definitely does not deserve any like credit for like the very like little representation that they do have, because it's always like the writers or the directors that are pushing that. Like I saw one of the animators of the new Disney movie Encanto that's coming out later this year. They tweeted, because I guess the trailer showed like there was like a clip of like this very like muscular woman like holding up like a bunch of tables, and this animator tweeted out like, you have no idea how hard it was to get Disney to let us put muscles on that character. And like, honestly hope she didn't get in trouble for tweeting that. But like, yeah, it just goes to show that like even like the like most like minor bits of like representation they have to like jump through hoops to have. So like it doesn't.
Did you see the tweet that Alex, I think the guy who created Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch made? Cause
no.
So for Pride Month, Disney put out this tweet.
Yeah, I did see that. Not the Gravity Falls one, but like the whole like there's room for everyone under the rainbow.
No,
shit.
I'm saying he's the creator of Gravity Falls. That's what I mentioned. But like, yeah they put out that tweet, and he was like, he made that tweet was like, oh yeah, you guys are putting out like tweets supporting Pride Month while you don't like actually allow gay characters in your movies to appeal to like China and stuff.
Yeah, and like and by the way, for everybody who's saying that like I'm overreacting by calling Loki and Sylvie like incest or whatever, like I saw posts from people who said that they were victims of incest and that made them uncomfortable. So like even if like you personally don't see it as incest and it doesn't make you uncomfortable, it is still alluding to something that is problematic and does make people uncomfortable. That's why like I find it like just morally questionable at best. And like, or like, it wasn't a good idea. Okay, it's bad writing. Like, it's a shit romance. Like, it didn't need to be there.
Like, it's just weird.
It's not a good idea. They shouldn't have done it. Like, what the fuck? And yeah, like, I guess also like another thing I'll say about the finale as well is that the actor that plays Kang, I'm blanking on his name right now, but like I honestly found him to be really like hammy. Like I was just finding it really hard to take him seriously. But like I just found him like overacting so much, and like I just like really like this is Kang, like this is the big baddie you've been building up to. Like, are you serious? And like again, like it's just another reason why I just found the finale so disappointing. And like I know like obviously he's gonna be back and stuff, but like I don't know, like I'm just so like disappointed in phase 4, like, and yeah. So
but we're gonna go keep seeing these movies, so I guess we're the real losers here.
Yeah, we'll keep getting these rants out for you guys. Yeah, so I just kind of need to like just get this off my chest, just kind of like for the sake of my own sanity, because like I'm just like so fucking pissed off right now that this is honestly the direction they went in. And like, yeah, it just like it feels insulting not only to the fans but also to Tom for like the work that he's done, like, because I know that he loves this character, and like I'm honestly really saddened that like he had so many ideas for what he wanted to do for the show, and they were just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Well,
and
keep in mind that now that there's multiverse, at least that means that maybe in one alternate universe this show was actually good.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of my spiel. I'm not sure what else to say. I guess like in terms of like I personally this is my least favorite MCU show. Maybe that's just because like I personally like love Loki and I found it so like offensive, but like I just thought the writing this was just really, really bad. And like I said, like I really wanted to like this show, and like the first 2 episodes I was open to it, but then I started to see like, oh, this is not about Loki, and also they're trying to pair him with himself, which is fucking stupid. And like, yeah, no, this didn't work for me. So yeah, do you have anything else you want to add?
Not really now.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of my review. Maybe I'll bother watching season 2 if I can. Maybe I'll just be too exhausted at that point to try. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be back soon with more reviews, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.